We're live.
Welcome to the Lost Together podcast. I'm Joe, and this is my effort to convince my wife, Morgan, that Lost is one of the greatest TV shows ever produced, acted in, or seen on television. I loved it the first time I saw it, and by the time, we're in episode 9 now, technically episode 8 if the pilot's together. So to keep it from being confusing, we'll go with the number of actual episodes in the series. So this is technically episode 8. Confidence Man. So Confidence Man, as we talked about last time, I don't know if I specifically mentioned this last time, but I was looking forward to this one in the same way that I was looking forward to Walkabout. So give us your kind of initial thoughts on Confidence Man.
So good. I was right. It hurt my feelings. Sawyer, I clocked him, which, they make it apparent. He really does go out of his way to be a dickhead and be hated. That is a damaged man right there. I know him. He's one of them. But it's always, those dudes are always the ones that are hurt the worst. Like, he's damaged all the way through. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was right. He makes me so sad. But it was a great episode. Loved it.
Just a complete sidebar, but you know something that really dates Lost as a TV show to me is that early in the episode, so it's very early part of the episode, Kate is walking around on the beach carrying those bananas. She sees that Sawyer is in the ocean and he calls out to her about the book, which we'll get back to in a second. But then he comes out of the water and he's naked. All right. Now, something that really, really dates this show is... think about that scene, and then think about the scene when Jack is checking out the big laceration on his side, and he takes his shirt off. All right? If this show were made today, those two men would have to be considerably more muscular before they took their shirts off. Now, Sawyer's in pretty good shape.
You think so?
Oh, babe. Think of the last time that you saw somebody take their shirt off on a TV show that's a man. A recent TV show or a movie.
Well, the shit that I watch on TV is my 600-pound life. So
so
I've not seen any Beef was the guy. Did he have his shirt off in Beef? I bet he did.
If it wasn't in the same fashion as Lost. So
it wasn't like sexy. There
Right.
wasn't a sexy vibe.
Yeah, but there's dudes that are shredded when they're not meant to have a sexy vibe. Now on TV shows and in movies.
Give me an example.
What's the biggest cinematic universe in television?
Marvel. Yeah,
right?
but they're fucking superheroes.
Yeah, not all of them. They're
Most
not all
of them.
superheroes. Hawkeye.
He's a superhero. He's an Avenger.
Yeah, he's an Avenger. He's not a superhero. He doesn't have powers.
I think that if you're on the Avengers team, you can be called a damn superhero.
Yeah, possibly, I guess.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have powers.
The freaking Scarlett Johansson's hot ass. She's not a superhero. She's just really good at fighting.
And shredded.
Yeah.
100% shredded. What I'm saying is that men whipping their shirts off would have to be in a lot better shape than Jack and Sawyer were to be male sex symbol leads on a TV show.
Sure.
Because Sawyer and Jack are definitively sex symbols on the show. And they're different kinds of sex symbols.
Yes.
So they'll strike you different ways, right? But they're neither one of them, and this is no disrespect to these men, right? But they are not in incredible shape.
No, Sawyer looks like corn-fed. He looks like a Knoxville boy.
Yeah, absolutely. He looks like a Knoxville boy.
I thought it was great casting, to use him and have him be from Knoxville. I knew he was obviously from the South based on the way he talks, but I'm not surprised at all that he's from Knoxville.
Well, Josh Holloway, the actor who plays Sawyer, want to take a guess where he's from?
I'd say probably somewhere in Alabama.
He is from San Jose, California.
Get out! He's got the hair for it.
He is excellent at the Southern accent. I actually think it's one of the more impressive things about this show that goes probably unsung a little bit from people who just appreciate Lost. Josh Holloway's accent is great. It's a great Southern accent.
It's not too thick.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem put on.
Yeah, as Southerners, have I actually talked about this at all? We live where we live.
No.
Yeah. I mean, we're Southerners.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah, we live just outside Gatlinburg, where Dollywood is.
yeah.
Like,
So
very close to Knoxville.
when you see Southerners portrayed on television, it doesn't matter what part of the South he's supposed to be from, because to Hollywood it seems like all Southerners are the same Southerners, but we know that being from Alabama or being from Kentucky is two entirely different things. I mean,
There's even being from, Memphis and being from Knoxville are different things.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a different type of Southerner.
well, Tennessee is 3 states.
Yeah,
You
right,
got
yeah.
East Tennessee, Middle Tennessee,
Tennessee.
and West Tennessee. So you got like over in West Tennessee, you got Memphis. That's like
Barbecue.
almost Mississippi, right?
Yeah.
And then Central Tennessee is like country music land, or it used to be, and now Central
Money.
Tennessee is essentially money, and also kind of like San Francisco hiked up his britches and walked across the U.S. and sat in the middle of the South. So
You think?
Oh my gosh, I lived in Nashville for a couple of years, and it is
Nashville. Nashville, yeah.
that's Central Tennessee, baby.
Yeah, I know, but it's not the only place. I lived in Murfreesboro. I didn't feel like it was San Francisco.
Yeah, well, you were on a college campus, right?
Yeah, I was 17.
Nashville's great, especially great to visit.
It's a lot of fun.
Not necessarily great to live there.
I bet
but
it's not.
great to visit. Really fun time. But East Tennessee, completely different. We're closer
College football,
closer to the stereotype. We like football. We like
tailgates,
fashion and hunting and tailgating and all that.
and our families and shit.
We love our families. They don't love their families up north, just us. So anyway, I've always thought I was really impressed by Josh Holloway's Southern accent and how it is just Southern enough. It doesn't sound put on, and I don't think they've said exactly where he's from yet. The Knoxville thing is, I can tell you the character's not from Knoxville. I'm not going to tell you where he's from, but he's not from Knoxville. It's just that's where it's just to indicate the date when it would have happened.
The bicentennial, which would be 2000, right?
No.
What's a bicentennial?
It would
200 years.
It'd be 1996, wouldn't it be?
I have no idea.
1776 to 1996. The bicentennial.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right.
So, it'd be 96.
I didn't know if there was like a Knoxville bicentennial.
That can't be right. Hold on.
I don't know.
Either way.
How old do you think that he is in this show?
Well, he's probably close to Jack's age, so 40. He's probably about 40.
And he was 8 or 9 when he wrote the letter?
Right.
And when did the plane crash?
Yeah,
Do the math.
Yeah, it's not right. Either way. I didn't do enough research on it, and I'm not going to sit here and scroll and try to figure out when the Knoxville bicentennial was. Anyway, he's not from Knoxville, but the accent's really good. Any TV show that I've seen, guys take their shirt off. Oh, here's a good example. You. Show You.
Okay.
Yeah, Joe takes his shirt off.
Yeah, well, he's having sex constantly.
Right. But he's not working
they're not
out in
having
the show.
sex.
He's a stalker.
Yeah, he's he's a serial killer.
Well,
he's,
yeah, incidentally.
He's very fit.
Incidentally, he's a serial killer.
He's a pretty fucking direct serial killer.
He doesn't set out to do serial killing in the show. He's setting out to do stalking.
Well, yeah.
And then the serial killing happens as a matter of self-preservation. But he's not a serial killer. It's not the same as watching a Ted
Oh my
Bundy.
god. Oh my god. Here, you heard it here, folks. Joe thinks that Joe Goldberg is not a serial killer.
In the sense that it's not his goal to be a serial killer. Ted Bundy's goal was definitively to be a serial killer. Joe Goldberg's goal is not to be a serial killer. Like, you couldn't call you couldn't call Thor a serial killer. Like, he kills a whole bunch of people while he's fighting, but,
Thor?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's killing bad guys. Who cares?
Oh.
1996 was Tennessee's bicentennial.
Well, they've got their dates way off then. I had that right, but...
Well, hold on. Sorry. The Knoxville bicentennial was in 1991. Tennessee's bicentennial was in 1996.
So unless they're saying that Sawyer is younger than Jack, which is possible...
maybe a little
doesn't seem
younger.
like it. I mean, Sawyer looks like he's definitely in his 40s.
I think he's probably in his late 30s.
Okay.
I'd say between 35 and 40.
Babe, I'm in my late 30s. You think me and Sawyer look like we're the same age? I'm 37.
Yes.
What? How strung out do I look?
He
Are
doesn't
you kidding
look
me?
strung out.
Oh my goodness.
I'm a Sawyer stan. I like Sawyer.
Yeah, I bet you do. But Sawyer is a piece of garbage in this episode
Well, yeah, he does some shitty stuff. He really does.
Yeah, so are you a good or a bad person based on having a good or a bad heart, or is it based on stuff you do? Because he swindled a kiss out of Kate for...
That was yucky.
Yeah, really yucky.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, this episode aired, which I didn't mention earlier, on November 10th, 2004, to an audience of 18.44 million viewers. So we're going to go ahead here in a second and get into the recap of the episode. Any other kind of little things before we want to get into...
No, I thought that was really great. I thought that was a really great episode.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and get into the recap.
Okay. Obviously, this is a Sawyer heavy episode. We get a little bit of expose on Sawyer. And if you remember from the last episode, Joe explained to me what a confidence man, how they are con men, and specifically talked about the pigeon drop con. Mm-hmm. So literally that's what he's doing, I guess. But
not really.
I still am not sure, like, how what he was doing was a con.
Okay, so basically what he was doing was he was trying to just get 106. So his goal is get $160,000.
Yeah.
From this guy.
Right.
So he starts hooking up with the wife.
No, I know all that, but like, what is there an oil rig? Like, I'm confused.
No.
What was he?
No,
what was?
no,
so
no.
he's literally just stealing $160,000.
Yes. Yeah, he's convincing them that a deal is going to happen.
Yeah.
To get them to put $160,000 into a briefcase, and then he's going to fuck off with that briefcase.
Okay, so he's just like a vagabond, constantly moving around.
The confidence part.
No, I get that. I get that.
Do you? Because
yes,
yeah,
I just didn't.
Which part of it is the confidence part then? It's the part where he's
like gaining their trust, getting in there, and
but specifically the part that's important is that he leaves his money.
Yeah.
With
Keep
them.
it up. Yeah.
Right, which is not actually money. Ostensibly, it's like counterfeit bills or whatever, because he is real literally just stealing $160,000.
But then the black guy that I thought was the guy from Reno 911 was like, "You better have me my money plus 50%."
Yeah.
So is it that guy's money?
Could be. Yeah, that makes sense.
In the briefcase?
But either way, the whole point is that he's meant to walk out with $160,000 extra dollars.
Right.
And the way that he does that is because they think, oh, well, he's got to be legit because he's leaving $140,000 with us.
Right.
So it helps them bring their guard down.
Mm-hmm.
And even, talking to the guy, he's like, look, all I got to do is sleep with the woman to get her to be good with it. But like the husband, he's got to touch the money. Like,
yeah, well, he says that directly.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. He said it, and so like that's the con is like he gets their confidence by leaving the money, and then he goes back for the money. They sign the deal. He takes their money out to go quote unquote invest it. In this case, I guess if it's the guy's money, he brings him the 140 grand back, and then 70 grand, which means that Sawyer would net 90.
Okay.
From that
math. So anyway, we open the episode with Sawyer having just laid some pipe to a beautiful blonde lady, and then he gets up all frantic, accidentally, quote unquote, drops his briefcase and a bunch of money spills out. So then he's like, I gotta go close this deal. I gotta get, my partner to put in $160,000. I'll make $1 million in 2 weeks, whatever. And she's like, well, why doesn't my husband just give you the money? And he's like, cool. So then that's exactly what happens. He ends up going to dinner with them. He says that he works at an auto body shop with that lady. Her name was Jess. So he's like, him and Jess work together at the auto body shop. And that's how they know each other. David is the husband, and he obviously... It doesn't say what he does, but he obviously is like an
lumberyard.
Affluent. Oh yeah, he owns the lumberyard. You're right. Yeah. So, anyway, Sawyer ends up getting them in on the deal. They're cool. We're cool. So we flash forward to the island, and and Shannon apparently has debilitating, horrible asthma, and she's freaking the fuck out because she doesn't have her inhalers. So they're like, oh, we got to get those or she's going to die. So Kate finds out that Sawyer has the inhalers. Oh, I'm so bad at telling this story. She sees him on the beach. You already talked about it. He's all naked and whatnot. And he's got the book Watership Down, which I've never read.
I'll come back to that.
Yeah. I've never seen the movie either. But I know it's like apocalyptic in some way. But anyway, he's like, it's a book about bunnies. So then Boone said, Sawyer has my book. Watership Down is my book. That means he has my bag. And the asthma medicine, the inhalers are in that bag. Sawyer has the inhalers. So freaking Saeed and Jack team up to start their own little Guantanamo Bay out in the forest. They're putting reeds in Sawyer's fingernails and just beating the shit out of him. And he says, I will tell you where the medicine is, but I'll only tell Kate. Get Kate out here. Kate comes out there. And, when he was naked on the beach, she was like, you know what? I've seen you looking at that piece of paper in your pocket. I know it means something to you. And he's like, shut up. You don't know me. You don't know anything about me. So we know that there's like a mysterious piece of paper. And then he tells her on the beach, he's like, I will tell you where the medicine is if you'll give me a kiss. And Kate's like, nobody's that disgusting. And he's like, shut up, you don't know me. Get out of here. Flash forward. We're back to the torture scene. He's like, you still have to give me a kiss. Now, that was not one kiss. They were straight making out. It was a hot, hot kiss. She didn't have to do all that.
Well, I thought about that, but maybe she assumed, because he is such a piece of shit, that if she just goes in and gives him like a or whatever, that he's going to say it's not enough.
Sure, sure. Yeah. I thought that was some weak sauce shit from Kate, but also, like, whatever. So, they make out, and then he goes, I don't have the medicine, and I never had it. Saeed, she goes back to Jack and Saeed, and she's like, he doesn't have it. Saeed's like, he's a liar. Ends up stabbing him and cutting his damn artery open on his arm. And it was a pretty graphic, like, Jack's got his fingers all up in there trying to pinch the artery. He, obviously he survives. But Sawyer was like, Jack, if the tables were turned, I would watch you die. But I don't think he would. Son knows how to make this, like, eucalyptus mixture and puts it all over Shannon's chest and is making her smell it. And she helps Shannon, like, get over the asthma attacks. People put eucalyptus in their showers because it'll open up your sinuses.
Yeah.
So, very smart for her.
I say it's good for inflammation, right?
Yes,
so, yeah.
yes. So, very smart on her account. So, let's see. So, Sawyer wakes up. His arm is fixed. And he's like, read the letter. Kate read the letter on the beach.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's like, you think you know me? Read it out loud. So it's a letter written by a child that says, like, you stole money from my daddy. He got mad. He killed my mom. He killed himself.
You had sex with my mom.
Yeah, you had sex with my mom. Daddy found out. He got mad. He killed my mom. He killed my dad. You killed my parents, Mr. Sawyer.
Yeah, and I'm going to find you and give you this letter.
Yeah, one day I'll find you and I'll give you this letter. So after Sawyer wakes up, Kate's like, I read your letter like 1,000,000 times, and you wrote it, didn't you? You were the kid. And then there's like a scene where we're back in the house with Sawyer and Jess and David, and he's like about to walk out with the money, and then here comes a little boy around the corner, and he freezes completely. Mm-hmm. And then he's like staring at the boy for a long time, and David turns around and he's like, what's the matter with you? And then Sawyer's like, we're done. Drops the suitcase out the door. So I guess he's like wishing that's what would have happened.
He just didn't know they had a kid.
He was the kid.
No, babe.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's coming together for me now. It's coming together for me now.
Yeah.
I see. So he got all triggered. I'm with you. Okay.
Yeah,
So
he
Kate's
didn't
like,
know they had a kid.
okay. So that, because I was like, oh, so he doesn't steal from people with children? And you were like, so then Kate's like, you wrote the letter, Knoxville, bicentennial, you were 8 or 9 years old. And Sawyer's like, yeah, I've been carrying this letter around because I knew one day I was going to find him. But then I turned into him because I owed $6,000 to some guy. So I slept with a lady and her husband gave me money and I became Sawyer.
Took his name.
Yeah. She's like, that's not your name. And he said, no, it was his name.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
That's your Sawyer.
Boo. And then Saeed is like, I said I would never torture anybody ever again. But I did it, so I'm leaving. Mm-hmm. So he's like packed his shit and he is gone, which I think is a good idea.
Having tortured somebody.
Well, no, I don't think it's I don't think he should leave because he tortured somebody. I think it's a good idea to go map out the rest of the damn island. There's obviously some shit out there.
Yeah,
like,
one of those things is a monster.
One of them is, but there's also a French lady out there somewhere. So.
How do you know that?
Well, she's been transmitting for 16 years.
She's been transmitting a recording for 16 years.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I thought it was great. I really enjoyed that. And I knew it was going to be some heavy emotional shit coming from Sawyer. I knew it.
Because it was Sawyer, you knew it was going to be emotional.
Yes.
All right. Good recap.
Thanks.
So, a couple of things from this episode that I noticed. So, you mentioned Watership Down earlier.
Yeah, I don't know. It literally is rabbits.
Yeah, because he comes out of the ocean. He said it's about
bunnies. Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. So I mentioned in I think our first episode or our second episode that I didn't want to be pretentious, but I was going to tell everybody that what I studied was English in college, and so. One of the things that I learned in one of the classes was to pay attention whenever you are reading a book or you're watching a movie and another piece of art of any kind shows up in the piece of art that you're reading or watching because it is always meaningful, they say. It's intentional.
Also, you didn't just study English, you got a degree, a bachelor's degree in English.
Well, anyway.
You're an educated, very smart man.
So... in this case, Watership Down is the piece of art that shows up in the movie. Okay, so Watership.
Oh, and Sawyer says that he got that because it washed up on shore. He didn't ever have Boone's bag.
Yeah, but he doesn't say that in the beginning. He just says like,
right.
I have a book.
What the hell?
So anyway, Watership Down by Richard Adams. And it is about bunnies, or those are the characters, but they're just anthropomorphized. So they don't live in they live in like a setting where it's like they're humans. They just happen to be rabbits. So they could have been humans, really. They were just, I don't know why he chose rabbits. But there are themes in Watership Down because one of those themes is about the struggle between tyranny and freedom. But a more prescient one is the struggle between reason and blind emotion and or faith.
Okay.
So just like Lost. So
yeah,
it's a really common theme in art, in general. But also one of the first things that happens in Watership Down is that a rabbit called Fiver gets a vision of the destruction of their homeland about to happen and is trying to convince a bunch of them to leave where they're at and go somewhere new. So only recently on Lost, the cave. Exactly. So just prescient, I think, that they selected Watership Down. Could have picked anything. I am so glad they didn't pick Lord of the Flies because that would have been so
annoying.
That would have been mega annoying.
I have read Lord of the Flies, and yeah, that would have. Even I would have been like, "Damn."
Yeah, come on, a little on the nose. Lord of the Flies here.
Yeah.
Because if there's an episode of Lost that gets a little Lord of the Fliesy, it's definitely this episode, as we have got torture happening. We've got Jack, even at one point, says to Kate,
We're not savages yet.
We're not savages yet.
He's like, give me an hour. Then we'll be savages.
Yeah. So that's kind of the next thing. Like, this is a huge part of the episode. I guess we'll do the heavy bit and then, round it out with some lighter stuff. But this series is out in 2004. 2004 was an election year. I remember it was Bush versus Kerry. And one of the kind of referendum things that was going on in that election was a discussion about torture. And
Guantanamo Bay?
Not specifically Guantanamo Bay, but whether enhanced interrogation techniques and or torture was ethical to get the result that was necessary to keep people safe. So it was like if torture prevented a terrorist attack, is torture good? So the reason that torture is in this show is because it's more utilitarianism versus deontology. And another thing to point out here is that Jack, who was originally a deontologist, is ever since he assisted the death of the marshal, right? He's been a pretty strict utilitarian from that point on.
Yeah.
Especially in this episode. So Shannon is having an asthma attack. Now, I think it's funny that a whole doctor couldn't think of something else to do to treat an asthma attack, but Son could.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's herbalism. Like, it would be like if I told you, let me go get my garlic oil and rub it on the bottom of your feet to cure your cold. Like, doctors might not know that offhand. They're like, let me get you some penicillin or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, well, either way, as soon as they figure out she's having an asthma attack and Sawyer has the inhalers, I think it's kind of weird how quick it escalates into...
Well, because Sawyer is a known dickhead and an antagonist and problematic. Like, he has not proven with his behavior that he would just go like, oh yeah, shit, here you go.
What's so funny about this, right, is that, so I'll ask, you're on the island. It's not you having the asthma attack. Somebody else is having an asthma attack. And some dickhead on the island you think has the inhalers. Funny they didn't do much of an investigation.
Not at all. And that's what I said. I said, why didn't they, when they had him tied up to the tree before they tortured him, why didn't they just go ransack his shit?
But my point is they didn't even ask. So they didn't say, do you have the inhalers?
They just said, where are they?
They just said, give us the inhalers.
Yeah.
Right? So it escalates really quickly. You're on the island. You know that this person's having an asthma attack. They might suffocate. Is this, in your opinion, this thing that's happening, this torture, is it ethical? Is it moral to do this to get the inhalers?
Obviously, hurting people is a bad thing. You should go out of your way to not hurt people. But Sawyer could have said when they were whooping his ass before they tortured him, because Jack beat his ass in the caves and was like, you've got the inhalers. And then Sawyer was like, instead of being like, I don't have any inhalers, he was like, oh, that's all you got? That's all you got? So...
Yeah, I mean, there's self-loathing and stuff going on with Sawyer, but that's not what I'm concerned about. I'm just concerned about whether or not it's right and ethical to torture somebody for that information.
Sawyer... if he had been easier to deal with, he wouldn't have needed to be tortured. So it would have been a moot point.
You're still trying to walk around it, which I'm not going to let.
If people will just do what the hell they're supposed to do, there would be no need for torture. But if you're up against, if one of the kids was having an asthma attack and you thought somebody else on the island had the fucking inhalers and they were just being a dick about it, you would want them tortured to get the fucking inhalers.
Well, don't turn it on me. I'm asking you.
I would. Yes, I would.
I'm not asking about the kids. I'm asking about a girl like Shannon.
Yeah, I mean, Shayna's a spoiled bitch, but she's still a person, and it's not her fault she has asthma.
And at what point do you start the torture? Is it...
They should have given it a little more time. They should have tried harder.
How much time, though?
Well, I don't know. But they could have, like, taken Sawyer to his camp and been like, I'm going to fuck up your whole place if you don't tell me where the inhalers are. And then he would have been like, ooh.
Well, it's funny, right? Because I think the natural thing here, because when I thought about it while we were watching it, I was thinking, in this situation, obviously he needs to be tortured to get those.
Yeah, he's not going to give it up.
If he's not going to just give them up,
yeah,
he needs to be tortured.
Yes.
Right? But like carrying that to its logical conclusion, if that works, are they going to do that for everything that they want?
No, because they didn't go immediately the first time Sawyer pissed him off. They didn't immediately go to torture.
It didn't take very long.
Sawyer has spent 9 episodes setting himself up to be the character that he is to the rest of the people on this island. They knew that he was not going to just be like, oh yeah, here, they're in my pocket, here.
The thing is, what I'm saying is, if it works, right, what other things will they justify in order to get safety and solidarity?
Sure, it's a what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
That's utilitarianism.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. But
they're literally having to build a little community, a little civilization.
Okay, so if in their little community, little civilization, somebody finds a way to store more water than other people can store. All right, and it's a lot more water. They find a way to personally store a lot more water that they gather and collect.
Yeah.
In the case that it doesn't rain for a little while and the natural water source runs low, and that person doesn't want to share the water that they work to store, you don't think that they're going to torture them for water?
If it got to the point where everybody was dying of dehydration, yeah, they probably would.
So that's what I'm saying, is that if they do it the one time and it works, right, in a situation like this where there's no law and order, it's going to happen again, and it's going to become tyranny over time. It's going to become, we justify this because it's good for everybody if you do what we think you should do.
Yeah.
So who's we in this case? In this case, it's Jack and Saeed, who didn't even involve the rest of the people in the cave.
Well, yeah, Boone was like, what the hell? You went after Sawyer and you didn't even tell me she's my sister.
So think about it like that. They didn't take a vote.
Yeah,
they didn't have a discussion with anybody.
Yep.
They just did it.
Yeah, that's bad news.
Do you know what that is?
Tyranny.
That's tyranny.
Yeah, that's like a...
That's not freedom, that's
North
tyranny.
North Korea over here.
Yeah. So I think that it seems on its surface like a thing that you would want to be able to do to get medicine to save somebody's life. But I think Saeed's right to set out afterward because, you know, he tortured somebody. It's going to get back, and that somebody did not have the medication, which is another thing I think the show chose to do on purpose. Because
that's not the first time something like that has happened.
Well, yeah, but that's what I mean. What I'm trying to say is the show was making a political statement in this case because Saeed tortured Sawyer.
Yes.
To get something to save Shannon's life. But Sawyer didn't have that thing. And during the Iraq War and during all the stuff that was happening in the election year in 2004, it was a huge question as to whether or not you could even trust the information that you got from somebody that you tortured.
Yeah, because they're just going to say whatever to make it stop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the military probably knows a great deal more about that than I do. But I think
that's how they got witches. That's literally what they did. They would torture people until they said, yes, I'm a witch. Which obviously they were not witches.
Right. So, either way, I think it was... I just couldn't stop thinking about it while we were watching this episode because, 2004, I was a senior in high school. And, that was a year where there was an awful lot of talk about torture And
Yeah.
I believe that's when Abu Ghraib happened too.
Abu Ghraib. That's the one. I kept thinking Guantanamo Bay, but I knew there was, obviously that was not the one. Yeah, it was Abu Ghraib and Bush came out and said, like, yeah, we're torturing people. Didn't he?
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he didn't call it, 2004.
Yeah,
So
'cause
the
that
Abu
was
Ghraib
the thing,
torture and
like-
prison abuse.
Because they were like, we shouldn't be torturing people. And, I mean, I was, in 2004, would I have been in middle school? I graduated in 2011. So,
7 years later. So if you're 18, your senior year, you've been
was
17,
17
so
my
you were
senior
10. So you'd have been in 5th grade.
yeah. I remember hearing him talk about,
4th or 5th grade.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember hearing him talk about torturing people. And I remember thinking that it was perfectly fine for them to be torturing terrorists.
But they weren't torturing terrorists.
And they weren't, yeah. They weren't all terrorists. I didn't know that then, but I was like, yeah, fuck all those guys. Torture them. Do whatever you got to do.
Well, and in this episode, you think Sawyer is keeping...
Just being an asshole.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you don't feel bad. Because you think, like, if they get inhalers for Shannon... So put it this way. The feeling about the political statement that Lost is making, and the writers of Lost, is entirely different if Sawyer has the inhalers and they get the inhalers.
Yeah, then they're
and
like,
Shannon is saved.
Look how good torture is.
Torture's
Look how-
great,
look
you
at
guys.
how this works.
Right? But instead, they chose to write an episode where they brutally tortured somebody, and then that person did not have the thing that they were trying to get. So,
Yeah.
that is the...
Yeah, not every person who is, has been tortured had it done to him for a good reason.
Yeah, almost none of them,
Yeah.
I would argue.
I
But
would say that you're right.
anyway, so there's also a scene where Saeed is going around and kind of asking questions about getting cracked in the back of the head. And he talks to Locke.
Yeah, and Locke is like, I bet it was Sawyer. Because I think Sawyer's the only one that smokes, right? So Locke is like, it's probably a person that doesn't want to get off the island that's benefiting from us being here. And anybody that's ever watched TV knows how to make a delayed fuse. It's a cigarette. Locke is the only person on this fucking island that's happy about being there. Okay? So, yeah, of course he's going to point to Sawyer because Sawyer's the village bad guy.
I thought you thought that Locke was like a good dude.
I do think Locke is a good dude.
So he's literally giving a knife to Saeed,
yeah.
all right, and suggesting that Sawyer did it, and you think Locke did it.
Yeah, I think Locke
So
did
you
it.
think Locke did it and then handed a knife to Saeed. So then is he a good guy?
Okay, hold on. I think Sawyer's a good guy, but I think that he is an asshole.
Well, let me ask you, what in the hell constitutes good in your book?
Well, people make bad decisions. People make bad decisions, self-serving decisions, but that doesn't always mean you're a just rotten human being through and through. I think that Locke, I think it makes all the sense, the most perfect sense in the fucking world for Locke to be all about this shit. I mean, he is so happy to be on this island. He's a whole different man. He's right now who he has been denied for the past 4 years since he was paralyzed. And obviously I don't know what his life was like before he was paralyzed. I don't know if he was, some kind of rugged mountain man before, but he is now, and he's obviously very happy about it. He's not trying to leave.
Okay.
But does that make him bad because he's happy that he's like his fullest self?
Whoa, no. Again, I think it's funny how often this comes up in our discussions, but like, you are choosing to determine whether or not somebody is good or bad based on what's inside them instead of what they do.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm so much more in the what you do is your definition.
Well, I
camp.
mean, that was obviously a shitty thing that he did. Like,
Yeah.
giving Saeed the knife, like, yeah. he's, he just wants Sawyer gone because Sawyer's a fucking problem all over the place. Even though Sawyer's not done anything directly to Locke.
But you still think, you're just assuming Locke did this. You don't know Locke did it.
Yeah, no, I'm assuming, yeah, because I don't know who did it, but the person that it makes the most sense for them to have done it is Locke.
Okay, well, I'm not going to get into it. So that happened.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, weigh in on the Charlie and Claire situation with the peanut butter to keep
It's
it light.
cute.
Oh my gosh! Listen,
So cute.
this peanut butter thing, I think, is red flag city. All right.
Really?
Yes. So first of all, what's the deal about the peanut butter? What deal do
Charlie
they make about the peanut
says-
butter?
Him and Claire are talking about things that they miss from before the island. And Claire's talking about warm, fluffy towels. And Charlie keeps talking about food. And she's like, is that all you think about? And he's like, you're pregnant. Don't you have any cravings? And she was like, I really would love some peanut butter. So then he says, if I can get you a jar of peanut butter, will you move to the caves? Because it's not safe out here on the beach. It's hot. You're covered in sand fleas. Come to the caves. And she's like, okay, sure. So then there's like a tense, sad little moment between Hurley and Charlie, because Charlie assumes that because Hurley is fat, that he's got food hidden. And it hurts Hurley's feelings, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, Charlie shows up with a totally empty jar, and he puts on this big show about how it's the most delicious peanut butter. He's like literally sticking his fingers inside the jar and like licking his own fingers. And Claire looks really disappointed at first, but then she's grinning by the end, and they're eating pretend peanut butter.
Okay,
together.
so here's why it's red flag city for me. Claire has clearly expressed a preference
Yeah.
for staying on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
She's worried about getting rescued. Mm-hmm. Okay. This guy is just hanging out around her all the time. She's pregnant,
Yes.
right? So I don't know. I feel like you might be a little more self-protective in that case.
If you're pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're protecting 2 instead of 1 or whatever. I mean, let's just from a sheer number standpoint, like it's 2 instead of 1.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's already told him what she prefers to do. She prefers to stay on the beach.
Yeah. He's just not having that.
She wakes up and he is packing her stuff.
Yeah. Because he found her a pretend empty jar of peanut butter. But like, he's just looking out for her. But yeah, it is red flaggy for sure.
Because he's attempting to take her autonomy.
Yeah.
So like, she's already told him what she wants to do.
Yeah, he does not care about that. That
Yeah.
sucks. I thought the idea of let's pretend we're eating peanut butter was cute, but like the whole thing, not cute.
Yeah. Red flag city.
Yeah, and Charlie, aren't you still like, you're freshly off drugs, buddy? You are not the person that knows what's best for everybody around here. So shut up and let me sit on the beach if I want to sit on the beach.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to predictions.
Okay.
So the next episode is called Solitary.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to do a brief glance here because actually this one doesn't quite ring a bell.
Oh, good. It's going to be a boring one.
Oh, wait. No, it's not going to be a boring one actually at all. I just didn't know that this was this episode. All right. So Solitary is a Saeed episode. So
I figured because he literally just took off by himself down the beach.
Yeah. So what's going to happen? Give me some of what you think might be in Saeed's flashback. What's going to happen on the island? And the hint I'll give you is that both the island story and the flashback story are Saeed centric.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some discussion about the torture. Because because Sawyer's still living. He made it. So I don't know if he's going to be like, yeah, they fucking tortured me. Like, how do you feel about, people getting tortured out here on the island? So that'll probably come up. I'm sure that we'll learn about, Saeed's poor war-torn place that he lived in that led him to being in the National Guard or whatever. What's it called?
Iraqi Republican Guard.
Republican Guard. So, we'll learn about all that kind of stuff. Just obviously give some more backstory. Maybe we'll learn who that lady is that he was petting her picture, his wife, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. 42.
That's all I ever get is 42s.
No, you've got.
Is that
other
an
ones.
important number?
You've gotten other ones. No, I've been recording your scores. So the last two predictions have been pretty dead on, but I think they've been a lot better since I've been giving you hints about like
Well,
who the
yeah.
next episode's about. No, but you've gotten a 4 before.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah, like
gotten
my first one.
Yeah, you've gotten an 8.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a 15, 16, 23, and then the last two were 42s.
Mm-hmm.
So, any what the fuck is going on? Any bigger idea about the island as a whole?
No.
Okay.
No.
I didn't think so. Probably.
You know what? We can put this wherever we need to put this. If you can edit this. What do you think about the fucking torture? Do you think it's okay to torture people to get what you need?
I think, especially in the situation that they're in, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think there should have been a hell of a lot more investigation.
Yes, I agree.
A hell of a lot more. And
Yes.
it's easy to say that I would do more investigation, but like, I'm not in the situation.
Yeah, I mean, Shannon is like literally struggling to breathe. Like it's an active situation.
I think if I could be sure, or at least reasonably sure, I guess I'd have to say I understand the impulse. I'll tell you that I don't think I could personally do it.
You couldn't personally torture somebody?
Not for a stranger.
No.
Like,
I couldn't either.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think I have it in me.
No.
To do.
I could torture somebody if it meant that I was benefiting one of my people.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to, if you or the kids were having an asthma attack and there were inhalers and I thought that guy had them, yeah, bamboos and fingernails. No doubt.
Yeah.
But like, and that sucks, but it's true. It's like the trolley problem, where people's answer to the trolley problem entirely change if you make the people on the track people you know, or you make the one person on the track somebody you know, and the 4 people on the other track people that you don't know. You know, it changes the answer.
Yeah, of course
and that's
it
kind
does.
of just really proof that most of the philosophy that works the best is nihilism, which is, it's all meaningless until you give it meaning, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's, I guess what I would say, a good way to delineate it for me, the torture on the island, is that it's ethical, but it's not moral.
Yeah.
I think it's morally wrong to do all the time.
Yes.
Right? But ethically, like, there's not really a set of existing rules on the island. And so the main thing is survival. And like, this person's going to die, and asshole, we think you've got this thing. Could have stopped it,
And
really.
you're a proven dick. That's what got him in so much trouble, is because he has been acting like such a butthole.
I also think Sawyer bears a 1% responsibility here for the torture happening, because he at no point did he say that he did not have this stuff. So he kind of leads them to believe that he's got it.
Right.
From a place of self-loathing.
Yeah.
Because he hates himself and he wants to be hurt.
Yes.
Because he thinks he's become like the person that he hates.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Totally get that.
in a similar way to, gosh, we were just talking about this in a different episode. Son, who hates Jen because she thinks Jen is becoming like her father. So lots of interwoven themes here, but good guesses for Solitary.
Yep.
And now, without further ado, we will move to my favorite segment, Messages in a Bottle. All right, so we're going to start with, actually we've got two to read, two comments on our most recent video, which is the moth, or the reaction to the moth. So Mike Jet USA on YouTube says, I just watched 2 views change to 1 view. Not going to lie, I think time might be running backwards. LOL. So actually, I'm sure that YouTube is messing with the algorithm to stop us from becoming podcast giants. That way we don't get more famous than we already are, which is the handful of people that listen to the podcast. If I get really famous, it'll be bad for the whole world, I think. So
Probably.
So YouTube somehow knows that, and they are literally running backwards because YouTube knows that mostly what I listen to is Ricky Gervais from 25 years ago and indie news. So they're like, this guy can't be famous at all. So it's just running views backwards. But thanks for being one of our -1 views. Really appreciate it. And then this one is confusing, the wording a little bit, but we'll read it. It's from Neo Flux Machina. Cool name. Mad props to managing to convince her to do this. I've been trying for years, and she's only gotten more resolute. Now, I think he probably means his
Partner,
friend, whoever he's trying to get to watch this show.
I know, I've been trying for 7, but how it reads is he's been trying for years, and she's only got more resolute. Sounds like he's talking about you, to be honest.
Well, I don't know that person.
Has anybody else ever tried to convince you for years to listen to or watch Lost?
No.
Yeah. Well, I feel your pain because I think if you're talking about your significant other, I feel your pain. I tried really hard for a long time, and it took literally saying, let's make a podcast to make this happen.
I really love to hear myself talk, so he got me.
I love to hear you talk too.
Duh.
I wonder if everybody else thinks you sound like if a banjo was turned into a real person
Here we go.
from your accent.
You're so funny.
So I did try for years and years, and then finally she gave in. And I think it is more related to, we watch TV shows all the time. So just watching a TV show we binge stuff. How many TV shows do you think we binged?
Oh man,
in
a lot.
Almost 8 years we've been together.
Yeah.
I think it's over 100 series.
I don't know.
I bet
if it's that many.
I bet if we counted, it's definitely over 50. Has to be over 50.
I don't know. Probably. That sounds about right.
But because that's so normal, in order to convince her to watch a TV show that she wasn't loving from the beginning, I had to appeal to her love for variety. So just some kind of like a spice, something different.
Yeah.
And so I think that was effective in this case. So
sure.
I recommend if you're trying to get your significant other to watch Lost, prompts to do a podcast, but just don't call it Lost Together Podcast, and don't compete with me on YouTube, which is the only place where this podcast is at the moment.
Please.
Thank you so much for your comments, and we'll see you soon.